Hello, my name's Rob and welcome to Swift Slots. And welcome to this week's Swift Slots mail call. So this is a summary of the items that I've had delivered to me in the post this week for viewing on this channel or for making in later projects. So let's get you on the bench and show you them one by one. So I've had 4 deliveries this week. Now I'm going to start with the coolest one as far as I'm concerned, and that's this order from Pendleslot. We'll worry about the contents of that box in a minute. But this motor here, I think, is the coolest thing that I've had turn up this week because it opens up possibilities. Now, when I first got this motor and I spun it in my hand, I could feel a little bit of a tight spot or a little graunchy spot at one point in the revolution. And I thought, oh, that's not good. I might have to send it back. But it's a cheap motor. I didn't want to trouble Pendleslot for sending it back. Such a cheap motor. It's not worth the trouble. So I thought, I'll just dive into it and I'll see what I can find and whatever. So I've undone these little tabs here and we just pull the armature out. And I discovered that all it was a little tiny shard of magnet from this motor or from manufacturer had just got itself lodged right at the front of the main magnet, and it was just catching the armature as it went around. So I pulled it out and that was all fine. Now, before I actually ordered this motor, I emailed Pendleslot and I asked them what was the length of the shaft sticking out of this end of the motor, because this is the model that I want to put this in needs this end of the motor and I need a decent amount of shaft, and they said it was 8.2 mil, and I thought, well, 8.2 mil is a little bit less than I wanted, but I could probably make it work. Anyway, when I actually got the motor, it was only 8 mil, so it's 0.2 less. Now that's not really very much, it's nothing to worry about, but for me it was a little bit of a problem because I really wanted about 8.8. So even 8.3 or 8.2 was a little bit not quite enough. So losing another 0.2 of a mil was making it more and more unfeasible. However, having since pulled the motor apart anyway to remove the little shard of magnet in there and get that all working, I thought, well, I'm here now. Let's have a look to see what I can do about perhaps sliding the main shaft through the armature to gain more shaft. And I will just gently pull this motor apart now and show you what I discovered. Right, so you've got to be very, very careful when you pull these motors apart because these little arms are extremely fragile and you really don't want to be yanking and pulling on them because you can damage them. So they just got a little bit of a spacer on there, which is usually quite stiff. So you just want to lift the brush over that little spacer, move it out a fraction, and then move the other one. And then the motors are also concaved in the middle, so they grab halfway out. So you just got to ease them out as you go. Anyway, so there's the armature. Now, what I thought I could do is see if I could get this armature to move through. So this shaft to move through the armature to try and get a bit more axle out the end of the can. And it turns out you can, which is fantastic. Now, my original idea, I popped this in the lathe with the 3 jaws just holding there, and I just pushed up against this plastic. Now, I didn't put much pressure on the end because I could see this plastic wasn't going to do that. But this piece here is actually just loose. It can actually come forwards. If I push hard enough, it will come forward, but it's also relatively soft, so you can't push against that. However, if you open up the 3 jaw chucks on the lathe to just so it touches those coils but is very definitely on this metal stack, and then push from the back with not a huge amount of pressure, you can actually move this armature, this shaft through the armature as much as you want. Now that's absolutely fantastic because I've now got 10.5 mil of shaft sticking out this motor. If I could only get it to relocate back in. There we are. I've actually got 10.5 mil of free shaft sticking out the motor now, which is amazing. If I just zero that off there we are. 10.55 mil of shaft out the end. That was from 8 mil. And there's nothing lost on the back, nothing lost anywhere. I've just gained a whole load of shaft. So if you want a motor with a long shaft and you don't mind trying one of these cheap motors from Pendleslot, so you've not got a lot of money on the line, or you've got a spare motor. Now, you obviously not, most people won't have a lathe, but what you can do is if you get a metal tube, and you get the metal tube so it fits just inside those coils all around that stack there, and then you pop that with the tube on the front here, put it in the vise and gently apply pressure to the back of the shaft, and make a mark as well so you know what you're doing. You might well be able to find that on your motor you can push that shaft through the armature very, very gently, and you can actually gain more shaft on the end of your motor, which is absolutely fantastic, because now I can use this. Now I actually need to chop a little bit of this armature off, and I can get this armature now to fit in the car that I want to fit it into absolutely perfectly. So, little tip for you guys there. If you want a little bit more length on your shaft, then try that trick. It may just work for you. Okay, so going back to my box from Pendleslot, I have these two gears. Now, I frequent the forums a little bit, and I also go on to some of the live streams, and I keep up with some of the latest chit chat around slot cars. And one thing that I keep on hearing is the conversation about Revoslot plastic gears not being quite round and not being able to be adjusted so they're super smooth, or taking a while to bed in, and blah blah blah. Now I thought to myself, well, all they are is gears. I'm fairly sure there's something out on the market that you can use instead of Revoslot gears and try and stop this problem of the plastic gear once and for all. So I've done a little bit of a research and back and forth and bought a couple of wrong gears, but eventually I bought some gears that I believe will actually work as replacements for Revoslot. And yes, I know it's a 3mm axle, but that I will come to later on. So if you guys would like to know what I've discovered about aftermarket gears in a Revoslot to potentially replace your plastic gear with something better, I will make a video on that as my next priority. So there we are, better gears in a Revoslot. Let me know if you want to see that. So next, I had this really, really great packet turn up from Colin Hughes at CNC Designs. Now, Colin, not many of you will know, actually makes the water slides for most of Pendleslot's resin kits. And I've used his water slides on my Volvo build and also the Ford Supervan build, and they're absolutely fantastic quality. And I spoke to Colin and I asked him if he'd be interested in making aftermarket water slides, and he said, well, that's what I do. That is part of my business. I actually make water slides for people, and he has a whole range of fonts and a whole range of designs and so on and so forth, and he can make you a sheet of decals, custom decals, no problems at all, on proper paper, all ready to go, no messing around with your home printer, no trial and error, no experimenting about. He's got the proper fonts and he's great to work with. And I asked him to make me a set of Waterslide Decals for the midget that I'm actually working on right now, which will be released in a couple of weeks' time as a finished video. So number 6 will be my racing number for my brass builds, and obviously I'm from the UK, so I've got the Union Jack, and I've got my name on there. It says driver Rob, and I won't say the surname because I don't know whether the camera's going to pick it up or not, but anyway, you'll see when it comes out on the side of my car. That'll be my driver's name. So Colin made these water decals for me, and they're absolutely fantastic. And I would advise you strongly to go and speak to Colin. He's a fantastic guy. He actually made these water decals, no problems whatsoever, really, really quick as well. And I paid £14.50 delivered for this sheet. And here are the other decals that he made for me, which is going on another Pendleslot Ford Transit van that I should be making. I should be making a custom van this time, not the super van, a standard van. And these are the decals that are going on that van, inspired by a picture that I saw on the internet. So, and he made these as well for under the price of these, and they're absolutely fantastic. The print quality is fantastic, the service is fantastic. So if you want Waterslide decals, custom decals, have a word with Colin at CNC Designs, and I bet you he can help you out. And he's not expensive, he's really, really good. Okay, so next up is this awesome piece of Americana from Revel. It's a 1/32 scale Corvette in American Eagle paint job. Now this is a snap together kit. I got it for £12 plus a little bit of postage from eBay. It said it was new and it's already been opened, I don't know whether it's new necessarily, I don't know, but there's nothing missing from it, so that's all good. So because it's already open, I'll show you now what you get in this kit. Now, as I say, it's a pre-painted body. Now, that is a pretty cool pre-painted body, in my opinion. And that's going to make an awesome slot car. And you also get all the interior with it, the window, some seats, and then in this part here, you get the chassis, wheel centers, dashboard, blown engine, steering wheel, front end, and some tyres. Now, my plan for this is purely to put a brass chassis in it. I bought this to only make a brass chassised car. And the motor that I used in my A110 the other day from George, the Predator motor, I don't want to leave that engine in that car because it's too much for that car and it's just not in keeping with the car. But if I make a brass chassis for this and put the Predator in that will make this an awesome little car. And then it'll be an American car with an American engine in it, and it'll be really, really cool. So I bought this dirt cheap as a clip together kit to turn it into a brass chassis car with an American Predator motor in it. So I'm quite looking forward to that project. And last but not least, I got this. It's a Carrera 1/32 scale Cheetah. Now these are quite odd and weird looking cars, but the reason I got this Cheetah was because I also have one of these. The Revel AC Cobra. Coupe, in fact, this one is. Now I really, really love this car. Now the reason why the Cheetah was made was to try and beat the Cobra on the track. It didn't quite come to pass in real life because things happened, but they were supposed to race together and the Cheetah was supposed to have wiped the floor with the Cobra. Now, because I have a Cobra, I thought it'd be right and proper to have a Cheetah. And they're so weird. They're such a weird looking car that it's a bit of a no-brainer eventually. So my plan for this car, because I don't have a box for my AC Cobra, my plan was to take the guts out of this Cheetah, sell the DCC or the decoder in there, and just literally wire it up straight from the guide to the motor, because I don't run digital. I've no interest in digital ever. I don't want digital. So I could sell all the guts out of this car, just straight wire it up, and then I was going to take away this plaque and this bulge and this slit, cut off the top of this back of this box here, make this flat, and then put on some plastic card that looks like Pavias. And then I thought I could actually mount the two cars in that one box on a Pavia inside, just like that, because it would actually fit beautifully inside the box. Then I can display both of these cars in one box, because they were supposed to race together but never did, in the original Carrera box. And that was my plan. But I'm not quite sure if I want to go down that route now, because having spoken to George at Area 51, these cars are actually really quite valuable. And I didn't pay a lot for this car. I paid £50. So I watched one go through eBay at £45. It got on auction. And then there was this one at £80, and he took £50 as an offer. And all the other ones now are well over £100 asking price. Now, asking price and getting price are different, I know. But I don't know whether it's... I mean, apparently these have got switches on the bottom. Yeah, it looks like it is. There is a switch in there. So I can apparently just run this on analog anyway. So I don't know what to do with this one now. I mean, a lot of me says leave it as it is. Don't destroy it. It's worth money. But a lot of me says convert the box, make a nice base for it, and display both of these cars together in the one box. So I'm not quite sure which way I'm going to go. But if anybody wants the DCC, or I keep saying DCC, that's what we use for trains, but the digital decoder in this car, if anybody wants it, let me know in the comments or through my website and make me an offer, and I'll see if the offer's good enough. I might just take it out of this car anyway, because it might be financially viable to do that. And then I'll turn the box into a nice little display, and they can both sit in the same box together looking pretty. So for those of you that don't know what the inside of a Carrera Cheetah looks like, and nor do I I'm going to take the bottom off now and we'll have a look together. And there we are. There's quite a lot going on in there, to be honest. We've got lights and everything, which I didn't realise it actually had lights. That's pretty neat. So if I were to change this to analog, I would just literally unsolder it from the motor, pull the wires out from the guide end and just take out that whole lot together. Don't know about the lights, possibly leave them in, I don't know. But I didn't realise it actually had lights, so that's really, really cool. So someone in the comments tell me if I turn this to ordinary analog, will the lights still work and will it actually do any damage to the chip? So there we are. But that's what a Cheetah looks like under the body. Very nice metal bearings as always. Independent front wheels as well, which is really nice to have. And also brass bushes, I say, all the way around, which is also very, very nice. So there we are. So there is my Cheetah. So there it is. All the little things that I've had delivered in the post this week for projects in the future. So if you've enjoyed this sort of content, maybe you'll subscribe. And if you could hit the little bell button, that would be awesome. So until the next time, thank you very much.